Early morning in mainland Europe, two white vans are quietly being loaded full of cocaine, hashish and ecstasy. They're being readied to move nearly 4 tons of narcotics. Authorities have been trying for decades to contain the global trade in illicit drugs. The drugs in these vans will be taken to an incinerator and destroyed. It's a journey the Portuguese police make every month, and they know there's no end in sight.
Our job is to try to make it as hard as possible for the drug traffickers to sell their product. But it's not a fight that we can win.
This is the story of how one country sparked a global movement for change. At a Portuguese incineration plant, the drug squad prepares to burn their latest haul. For years, Portugal took a hard-line approach to drugs.
The policy was that all people caught with drugs, regardless of the amount and even if they were for their own personal use, will be legally prosecuted as drug traffickers. They will be brought into court and they may be sentenced to some time in prison. But the hardline approach didn't make a difference regarding people stopping use drugs.
In the 1990s, drug use spread to every part of society in this small European country. 1 in every 100 of the population were believed to be addicted to heroin. Simply incinerating their supply was no answer. The country needed to forge a radical new approach to drugs. In 2001, Portugal came up with a policy that would put its people first. A new law enabled citizens to possess small amounts of any illegal drug. It would no longer be a criminal offence for mostly casual users to enjoy their vice of choice. State resources could be focused on addicts. Instead of being punished for their dependency, they'd be offered help.
All this area was people using, and
now they are more concentrated on this field here.
Yes, yeah, it was an old factory, and they are using that.
Psychologists Maria and Rachel are state-funded outreach workers. Every day they visit drug users to offer clean needles, smoking pipes, and advice. They call this approach harm reduction.
Yeah, we respect their space, you know? Yeah. We are not like, come on, get to treatment, you have to stop. It's not what we say, you know?
In their time, if they want, we help them to go to treatment.
Decriminalisation has removed much of the stigma addicts felt and the fear of prosecution that stopped them from seeking help.
Para ver se fumas mais.
Agora fumo muito heroína.
Pois, também não estás com o subtexto.
It's easy to them to get to us and say, okay, I have a drug problem and I need help. They don't have to lie to us. It's like, okay, I'm using and I'm not afraid to get in jail or something like that. And I think this is a big, big difference, you know.
90% of Portugal's anti-drugs resources are now spent on treatment and prevention, 10% on policing and punishment. In the United States, it's the opposite.
Em certas pessoas já mudaram, porque já aceitam a toxicodependência como uma doença. Antigamente o toxicodependente era generalizado, um bandido, porque consoante o tempo vai passando, as pessoas viram que o toxicodependente por vezes é inteligente, é bastante inteligente e que não é a droga que tira a pessoa, que deixa de fazer que a pessoa não seja aquela pessoa.
Since decriminalisation, drug-induced deaths have dropped from 80 in 2001 to just 16 in 2012. Over the same period, the total number of heroin addicts halved. Portugal's experiment defied the fears of opponents and broke a global policy taboo. But for all its success, the new approach did nothing to address the supply side of the drugs trade. Though citizens weren't now being arrested for possessing drugs, the police were still chasing their dealers. Globally, criminal gangs and drugs cartels continued to dominate a drugs trade worth over $300 billion. The countries where those drugs originated continued to pay the price they'd been paying for over a quarter of a century.
In the Colombian capital, Bogotá, the polls opened with a minute's silence for the three candidates killed during the presidential campaign. It was the culmination of weeks of terror. The man expected to win is the Liberal Party's Cesar Gaviria. He arrived surrounded by bodyguards and a media posse. He's pledged to continue the present administration's hard line against the drug cartels.
The cartels in Colombia by 1990 became almost all-powerful. Escobar was able to do terrorism in a way that only probably Bin Laden has been able. Blowing up buildings and bringing down planes and killing policemen one by one. It was really a threat to Colombian democracy. They were scary times.
When he won the election, Gaviria vowed to take on the cartels in his own way.
You have to fight cartels, you have to militarize the whole thing to show that these people could go to jail. At that moment, we had to do it.
Gaviria oversaw the dismantling of Colombia's drugs cartels and the killing of their most infamous leader, Pablo Escobar. But after 4 years in office, he seemed to have made little lasting impact.
Whereas once they grew coca plants for cocaine production, now it's poppy seeds. 1 kilo of heroin sells in New York for $160,000, 10 times the price of cocaine.
The war on drugs really failed. And at the end, what you see is no matter what you do, the drugs gets to the US. The life of Colombia has been really, really difficult. We have suffered so much violence. You have to look for a way out. You have to look for a solution. We know that just repression, just prohibitionism doesn't work. We know it for certain. We have lived that.
The drug-producing countries of Latin America are following the lead of Portugal in demanding change. But it's the country that began the war on drugs that might just bring it to an end. Here in America, they're now selling marijuana in the mall.
Citrusy, it's sweet, it's tropical.
Yeah. And this one?
This one's gonna be a little more earthy. A little more pine and citrus, but definitely a really good strain.
In 2014, Colorado became the first US state to fully legalize cannabis.
Hi, how are you? Good, how are you?
Within a year, it had already become a $700 million business there. Among the new industry's biggest players, Medicine Man is testament to the growing impacts of a new breed of cannabis capitalists.
When my brother and I started this, and my cousin Frank was our first employee, and we stood right outside the doors outside here, and we said, what do we want to be? And by the end of that discussion, we said, we want to be the Costco of marijuana. And at the time, we were really thinking of only cultivation. Now we're the leader in this industry in Colorado, and our vision has changed. So now we want to be the Costco of cultivation and the Starbucks of retail. You know, last year we did about $9 million. This year we'll do about $18 million in business.
In Andy's purpose-built plant, 50 different marijuana strains are grown, trimmed, dried and cured to develop their flavor and potency. It's cultivation on an industrial scale. Yet Colorado law requires every plant to be tracked throughout the process, from seed to sale. Legal controls are helping move marijuana away from the black market and into mainstream society.
Just as you would see somebody having a casual drink on a patio, you might see somebody around the corner just taking a quick hit of a bowl.
Welcome to the joint rolling class. Once you feel like you've got enough there, slowly start rolling it between and move your fingers in slowly.
In one room, they taught you how to roll a joint, which is really cool. I rolled my first joint today. It was pretty awesome. And then after that, they taught us how to roll our own sushi, which was really cool. I've never done that before.
It's kind of a great mix of people. Everyone was really friendly. A little high.
Testament to just how mainstream marijuana has become is the fastest growing part of the industry, known as edibles. There's a plethora of food and drink products designed to appeal to a public who may never have smoked. Infused with cannabis oil, edibles offer an example of how legalization enabled regulation. In 2014, Colorado introduced strict new rules on the packaging and potency of these products. For the industry, it's become a necessary part of building trust with the public.
December of 2013, a couple of leaders in Colorado came out and gave warnings that reefer madness was about to ensue in Colorado, and that people said, whoa, boy, kids are going to be using marijuana in great numbers. And shortly after legalization, they had to retract what they said.
Initial research has suggested marijuana use by teenagers actually fell. Meanwhile, the state reaped revenues of $76 million from fees and taxes on marijuana sales. That's set to rise to nearly $100 million in 2016. And with it, the funding of schools and the police it's been earmarked for.
Another great benefit about this industry is choking out the black market. Whether that's the cartels or organized crime, we are taking their customers from them, and we're going to choke them out to almost non-existing.
Colorado's experience helped to trigger a momentum for change across the United States. Almost half of American states have now taken some steps to legalize and regulate cannabis.
Many people still say, well, we don't know what will happen if this is free, if we decriminalize the production and the consumption of drugs. They should look at Portugal and Colorado. Today is a very legitimate issue. I have no doubt that the world is going to move to regulation instead of prohibition. It's about abandoning something that doesn't work.
14 years ago, Portugal's experiment set a bold new path for dealing with drugs. The shift it prompted could be about to reach a critical global mass.